I'm now joined by Frank Mulrennan, the Chief Executive Officer of Celtic Media, which owns, among other things, our own Anglo-Celt. Frank, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much, Colm. It's a pleasure to be here.
Needless to say, coming from Cavan, the Anglo-Celt is the paper we all know of, but there are other titles in your stable. What are they?
Well, actually, I use the phrase with regard to the Anglo-Celt. It's a slight derivation on a theme. I use the phrase that it's probably the best local newspaper in the country. And you can guess where I got that from. The Anglo-Celt is terrific. It goes back to 1846. Really strong penetration and loyalty in Cavan. Very fine paper. We have Meath Chronicle based in Navan. Here in Mullingar we have the Westmeath Examiner, and delighted to be sponsoring the Midland Gateway Awards, because also in the Midlands column in Athlone we have the Westmeath Independent paper, which also goes back to 1846. In Offaly, just 45 minutes from here, we have the Offaly Independent. And then in the South Meath, Ashbourne, Dunboyne area, we have a very fine free newspaper called Forum. So up to yesterday, Colm, we had 6 newspapers. And then a rather momentous thing happened yesterday. We bought a new newspaper, new for us. We bought the Connacht Telegraph newspaper in Castlebar, home of the Taoiseach. And it's a significant move for us, and we're really looking forward to developing that newspaper.
Well, congratulations on that purchase. So the fact that you bought that newspaper, it obviously means that regional newspapers are in a healthy position.
Well, I worked in national newspapers for years. I was editor of the Farming Independent, and I was business editor with the Irish Independent. And that was back in the 90s up to the year 2000. Since then, in national media, there is tremendous competition, particularly from free-to-access websites. Where we are with local newspapers, sure, it's a very challenging marketplace, and we've had 6 years of a very tough economy, but niche is good, Colm. You take the Anglo-Celt, there is nobody better at telling the news and the sports and the entertainment and the life of Cavan than the Anglo-Celt. We've been doing it since, as I say, 1846. We also have our websites, and we're delighted, actually. We're very impressed with the work that you guys are doing in Cavan TV, and we see the synergies that are there. So it's good to be specialising in a particular area, because that provides us with a unique selling proposition. Whereas if you're out there competing against, like, for example, if it's the coverage of Manchester United, oh my goodness, you're going to get it everywhere. But, if it's the coverage of, Cavan Gales, different level of competition.
And people would read the Anglo-Celt from cover to cover. People buy it for different reasons. Probably the most read sections is the local news. You have correspondence in most towns. And I assume that that's a pattern that kind of goes through all your newspapers. And again, I'm just kind of going to the Anglo-Celt because obviously from Cavan, that's the one we read. But religiously, people look at the headlines, court pages, to see that they know anyone who's been kind of pulled up kind of without a bell on their bike, and then straight to the local news. And that is where you will find literally the local news. Like, we all have Facebook, we all have Twitter, there's, as you said, there's newspapers online, but when you want to find out something that's happening in your locality, you do have to go to your local newspaper.
Yes, I mean, you don't have brands that are around since 1846, or in the case of Westmeath Examiner, 1882, or indeed Connacht Telegraph, 1828, without going through major change. So I have great confidence in how we have modernised our newspaper. Again, you talk about the Anglo-Celt, under Linda O'Reilly as editor and Yvonne Jackson as advertising sales manager, and Damien and the guys there. There's a modernisation. It's a paper that feels very expertly put together. It's pre-pressed or graphically designed in our centre in Mullingar. It's printed in our print plant just outside Navan. It's put together with a high calibre journalism and advertising sales team without losing the ethos of the importance of local. You know, Tip O'Neill, all politics is local. Well, you know what? Everything we do is local. And we want to reflect well on the modern Cavan, as well as remembering that nostalgia is important. So it's an interesting combination.
Now, obviously, a lot of the reporters are local throughout your newspapers. Are there any sections that are centralised?
No. No, I mean, you take everything in our sports section with Paul Fitzpatrick. Paul has just published a very fine handbook magazine, a handball magazine. I was just reading it. Everything is local. Really, you know, we could have centralised TV columns like some local newspapers, but no, because you can get TV columns anywhere. Whereas the importance of the coverage of Ballyhaise or the coverage of any of the towns across Cavan, that's what we do best. And we get, I tell you what we do particularly interestingly, and that's, there's a neat parallel between what's in our newspaper and what we're carrying on anglocelt.ie and on our Facebook. And that means that it's a modernising of the message while remembering that local is very important.
Now, you just bought a newspaper today. Is that part of an acquisition trail, or are you happy with that? Or if another good buy comes along, will you just look at it?
Do you know, acquisition trail sounds much too grandiose for what we do. But we're very pleased. We actually have worked with that newspaper in Castlebar for the last 3 years. We have provided them with pre-press, which that is the whole graphic design area, and printing for 3 years. The newspaper went through some tough times of late and went through a liquidation process, and we were resolute that we were going to acquire this paper. It's been a worrying few weeks, I won't deny that, but it's great. And what I'm really pleased about, Colm, is the reaction from the staff in Castlebar. They like us, they trust us. I'd be kidding you if I said there are other newspaper owners in this country with a lot more money than we have that perhaps people mightn't be as anxious to work with. But I'd like to see us as the good guys. We really care about newspapers, we care about media, and we really care about the people that we work with.
Well, Frank, that's a good slogan. The good guys who keep it local. Well, Frank McGrain, Chief Executive Officer of the Celtic Media Group, thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Colm.